Web.py is one of the micro web frameworks in Python. And so micro, what it means is, if you look at Rails or Django, when you start a project, it actually creates a bunch of files for you, and then you start modifying them. So that's how it typically works. In the case of micro frameworks, it's more like a library. You start writing your program from the scratch. It doesn't give you the bells and whistles that comes automatically with Django or something. So the nice thing about these small frameworks is you know what you're doing. It's not that you go and place this file there and somehow it magically works. It's not like that. So you start writing code for each and every piece that you're working on. So you basically have a good get a understanding of what happens in the system. And typically when you have working on a smaller project, that's much faster to get started than using Django or Rails or anything like that.
And it's lightweight too.
Yeah, it's lightweight too. So I mean, you don't have so many dependencies. So I'll show you. Is the font size good enough?
No.
No? Why did you actually move to front? Prefer chairs, then actually you can take this off and move the chairs to the front. Or if you prefer to sit down, then whatever you're comfortable with. Unfortunately, we don't have a projector, so
can we get spike shot?
do
you need it? Okay.
you start?
Yeah, sure.
So in Web.py, first start with defining the URL patterns. So first you import the Web.py module, and then start defining the URLs. So what are URLs? What's URL pattern is, you specify what URL should go to what class to handle that. So let's say, write a class hello, and write a class hello. So this is web application. So what we need to do now is create an app. So this is a full-fledged web application. So let's see what we are doing here. So import the web. That's a Python module to use. And specifying the URLs here. So slash, that's the root of the page, should be handled by a class called hello. So here we just write the name of the class and we define the class later. Because we can't use the object here unless it's defined, right? So here we just define the class name as a string, and then we create the web application, web.application, by passing URLs and globals. So why we need to pass globals here? That's because it needs to, from the name it needs to get the class. Okay, I'll get to that later why it's required, but that's how we create a web application. And then we write the class hello, what you have named there. And then class will have class will have you need to write get and post methods. So when you make a HTTP get request, so it calls a get method. When you make a post request, it calls a post method. That's how it works. So when you so this is a complete application. So in 10 lines you have a web application completely run. So let's actually see how to run this. Okay, so now go to say Python hello.py. That starts running web server. So take a look at the URL and then so you go to the URL and it starts printing whatever you've written from the function. So how many of you used command line program called curl? Yeah? Okay, cool. So curl is it's like a web browser, but it works in command line. So when you actually give URL, it actually makes a request and then tells you what the output is. So here we're actually seeing it's made a request and we're seeing it. Let's get an idea. It has an option called main swing. It actually shows like what's happening over the wire. Okay. So when I do that, okay. So it tries to connect to the server and tries to make an HTTP request. Get, that's a name of that's a method that it's trying to do. Get, that's a path, that's HTTP version, and then followed by a set of headers. And then this is the response. 200 OK is a success. And then set of headers followed by the data. That's how that thing goes over the wire. So now, what Web.py does is, let's go and look at our program. It does a URL delegation. So you have one big program that's an application that can handle more than one web pages, right? So let's actually say add a slash goodbye should go to class called goodbye. Just copying the same thing. Okay. So now what happens? Let's try running this now. Starting this again. So now let's look at okay, it's AMF saying opening from the browser. Okay. So now when I go to slash, it says hello world. When I go to goodbye, it says goodbye. Okay. So now this single web application which actually handles two different URLs. So how does Web.py works? So it looks at the URLs that it has and then finds appropriate class to delegate the request and then calls appropriate method inside. That's how it works. So it's simple. There's no magic here. Okay. So it's very easy to understand. So that's the whole point of using a micro framework. Unlike Django, it actually becomes pretty different how whole chain is going on. Okay, now let's see how to get more out of this application. Okay, we have only seen URL delegation. Okay, now let's say let's say I want to build a web application. Let's say hello and then give a name. It should say hello web.py. Right now it says it's not found because we haven't defined any rule for that. Let's say that when I say slash something, it should say hello and that name. So let's actually see what. Okay. So what you can do is the URL pattern can be a regular expression. You can have very see. Probably blocking the camera.
Probably blocking camera here, right? Yeah.
I think that's not yeah, so the URL pattern can be a regular expression. So it's a dot star. So anything followed by slash will actually go to hello. So let's see what happens when I run this. Hello. Why? Because anything followed by slash, it should go to
even for goodbye.
yeah. So let's say what happens if I say that. What do you expect?
Hello.
Hello. Why? Because
Takes everything.
it looks at the order. Okay. So if you want goodbye to come, it's probably like this.
You're the last.
Okay. But so we're not interested in goodbye right now. Okay. So the now let's say I don't want to say hello world every time. I want to say hello and whoever is that guy, whoever is the name that is given. Okay. So how do I do that? So one thing I can do is I can actually remember what's there in the URL. That's a regular expression match to actually remember something. Now whatever you remember there actually Web.py passes that as an argument to the function. So actually get it as a name. So now what I can do is hello. You know sync substitution in Python. Right? So hello.py, say it gets a name. And then so now let's try to say web.py, just hello web.py. So what does it give when I do this without anything there? It will give an empty thing. Okay. Maybe we want to actually nothing is defined. Just say take world as a default thing. So okay. So now you have an application ready, which actually what it's doing is looking at the part of the URL and then making a decision based on what to respond. Okay, so the initially we just had a URL irrigation. Now we have added. I've seen how to take something from the URL and then make some decision. For example, but I've seen this kind of websites which will actually go to URL, it says happy birthday and something to actually show you a nice message saying that happy birthday and something. Right? Have you ever seen any web page like that? You go to a web page, somebody will send you, a friend will send you an URL and it says happy birthday and then your name will be there in the URL. It actually takes that name and then displays it. So you can actually build a happy birthday application. So what it does is it takes URL and then takes the name and then displays it. Nice. Okay, so that's one way of actually getting user input now. So you're getting user input as part of the URL. That's not the only way of getting user input. The other way of getting user input is using the query strings. Okay. So let's try that as well. So instead of having that part of the URL, let's try to take that as a query parameter. So how does it work? So instead of this, I wanted to say so now I want to display hello Pooh. It is just like when you go to Google. So let's go to google.com. Okay. Search for hello. What it does is, if you see, it's actually passing a query strings to. See, it's actually. So /search is the URL you're trying to hit, and then q equal to hello is what the query parameter that you're passing. Now I wanted to see how to make our application respond to query parameters. Okay. So now I'll get the goodbye because I'm not using that anymore. I equal to that will give us whatever input we pass to it. Okay. Let's say name is not there right now, so let's keep it as world for now. Let's do I'll print I so that we'll actually see what I'm getting. You see here it's printed in something called storage. Let's not get into what storage means, but it's basically a dictionary containing name. So you can access the parameters. So you pass just like what we did for Google search. So q equal to hello. So it actually gives us q equal the value of q is hello. So Web.py allows that if you use it as input dot name. That's dictionary like object which you can actually access as an attribute also. So you can say name equal to I dot name or just say the I dot name. Okay. Now, so what let's do when I pass name. Yeah. So now if I run name equal to foo, it says hello foo. So what will happen if I don't pass anything? Look at the section. So let me just yeah. So now I have taken i.name. If you don't pass anything, what do you expect? What
Name key is not there, right?
it will give an error saying that name is not there. Okay, let's. It gives an error. It gives a whole stack trace like what's happening. Let's actually try to see what it looks like. It actually gives you a stack trace of what's happening. This is a internal error that Web.py provides you. So you can actually see like what happened. So this is the line that gave the error. I equal i.name. So this part of the code is the error, and it's raising attribute error because it's not there. Okay. So this is actually very useful when you're debugging your program. When something goes wrong, it actually gives you a debug error like this. So this won't happen in production. So when you're running it as Python something.py, it starts running a development web server. So only when the development web server is run, you get the internal error like that. Now let's see how to fix that. Okay. So now what Web.py input does is it lets you pass a default argument. So if name is not given, take world as a value. If it's there, then takes that value. So now I always have name. If I don't give anything, it takes what the default value that I have provided. So now let's see. This is hello.
This is for all the query strings, default will be one.
No, for see
One.
so name equal to word. Okay, so if name parameter is not there in the query string, then it gives me word for name. So clear? Now let's do how many times you want to print that. So just move far. In range I dot types. That will be a string because query string will be a string. So let me convert that into an integer. Sorry, that I can't return multiple things, right? That append and then link. I mean there are ways to return multiple things, but let's not get into that right now. Yeah, so this is, or I can just say i.name right now. So this is another way of getting query parameters. So user input can be taken in two different ways. One is you get as part of the URL. Second, you get it as a query string. Okay. So is that clear? So that's kind of what I want to show in the Hello World app. Okay. So we'll actually next we'll go and build a more realistic app and then see how it really feels like. Or actually, there's one more thing I would like to show. Template. Okay. So usually, it's coming in. See, usually you don't write HTML like this in your applications. You actually keep them in separate files called templates. So I'm going to show how that thing is going to work. Let's say first let me create a directory called templates. Okay. In templates I'm creating hello.html and I'll say hello. I'll just say hello just right now. Okay. So Web.py comes with its own templating engine. So the way to use it is you just you say template.render and give the directory. That gives us a render object. So render object, from render object you can access any template that's available in the in that directory. So what we do here is so render dot the template name without the extension. Our template name is hello. So render.hello and call it function. Set clear? Let's see what happens when you run this. Let me start it again. So it's reading from the template and giving that back. You see the code? It's called template render.hello. Now this doesn't take any argument. So this looks like each template, Web.py expose each template like a function to you. Okay. So it takes a HTML, whatever you written in the template, and converts it to a function like thing. And so you can call it like a function. Now let's see how do we pass parameters to it. Now we actually want to pass name to the template, right? We are actually getting the name as a query parameter. I want to pass it as an argument to the template. So the way it works is, so every template can actually specify what arguments it gets. So it's a definite, and then say, so $def is a way to, that's the first time it specifies that what arguments this template expects. And then now, when you want to use the value, you say $name. Okay. Is that, yeah?
So you can also give default values inside a template.
Yes. So let me actually say times equal to 1. How many times you want to use it? Okay. So you can write for start with dollar for age. Oh, so once you use a dollar, once you start the dollar, this is actually a Python expression now.
Oh.
Okay, you don't have to say that. They say full name. Okay. There's a times equal to 1 as default thing. So even if you don't pass, it takes a default value. Let's try to run it now. So it's actually going to fail. Let's see why it's failing.
Times is not.
Let's see if yeah. Sorry, so it didn't reload for some reason. So if we says hello. Okay.
Will it require the restart of the server?
No, it doesn't require, but I don't know why it happened. Probably because it's supposed to actually restart it whenever something is modified.
That applies to templates also, because you made change in only the templates.
Yes. So what it does
Even
is
that's came for me also. And I
okay.
tried
So
to-
what it does is in development mode, it doesn't cache the templates. So what in production what it does, it compiles the templates and keeps the compiled copy and continue to reuse, so that it doesn't have to read the file every time. But in development mode, it doesn't keep the cache of it.
It's
So every time you try to render a template, it actually reads from disk and then compiles it.
supposed to reload.
Huh?
It's
Yeah.
supposed to
Yeah.
reload.
So I think it's probably it didn't reload the Python file because we started passing a argument to it, right? I got name. That's the problem that it gave. Okay, it was still trying to call it without arguments.
I'm playing so that template file also.
Dollar name.
So what Web.py templating does is instead of it makes it it makes the template look like, so you can actually it gets the Python concepts to your template. So you can write for loop, you can write if and all that. So whatever you can do with Python, more or less you can do inside your templates.
But this file is a .html file.
It's an HTML file. It's a template. So output of it is it generates an HTML.
Okay.
So the bit thing people find uncomfortable with Web.py templating is the text inside it is indented. Okay, like you do it in Python. Sometimes it comes on your way. Okay. In other templating languages, you actually have an explicit end. Web.py templating doesn't. You don't have an explicit end. Okay. So it sometimes becomes a bit confusing. Like where is it ending? When there's multiple lines of thing. Okay. But so if you know Python, you should be comfortable with Web.py templating. Okay. So the kind of mistakes people make is for range they say dollar times. So using this is a mistake. Okay. Let's say for the whole thing is actually a Python expression.
Then my dollar name.
It's not a Python.
This is not a Python thing. This is a text that you're writing, right? This is what you're rendering. So now let's actually make the this thing take a second argument times equal to 1 by default, okay, and then I pass convert into integer and then pass it into the template. Okay.
You have to do that.
No, that if you don't pass it takes 1 as default. Okay, but I'm actually trying to say that it actually pass an argument. So now when I call this now, I can actually say times equal to 10. It gives it 10 times. So why is that extra new line coming up here? That's because we have a new line in the template. You see, I have a new line. So that's how template thing works. Any questions so far? Yeah. So can we move on? Any questions before we move on to the
So, can we club all these arguments into an object and send it across?
second?
So names and times and
Yeah.
are all the arguments
Yeah.
that we are passing it. Can we club all of these into an object and send it across?
So you pass 1 or 2 and so you want to say like wanted to pass
Or we can pass
X,
all
this.
Python arguments.
x dot name like this.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. So create an object x and pass it.
Okay.
Does it comes with any templating syntax like Java does?
What do you mean?
Something like, let's say only one it will say otherwise it will have as
I didn't get say that.
the templating scripts
Huh?
helpers to make your template better. Let's say if you want to restrict it, say you have some 10 lines you want to restrict for some summary kind of thing.
No. So what you can do is you can add template helpers, template globals. So what you do is, so in Django you basically you actually say like this, right? Name, upper,
Yeah, exactly.
something like this. Okay. Web.py, what you need to do is you need to say call a function upper with name as argument.
So it's a direct Python.
It's like Python. So upper function should be available to the template. So the way you do it, we'll see in the next example. Okay. But so what Web.py does is it tries to bring the Python syntax to the template. Okay. So I mean you can argue that's not the right thing for a template, but that's what Web.py does it. Okay. You like to use it, otherwise you can actually use some other templating along with Web.py. Okay. So nothing is. See, it's not a bundle that's coming with preview, okay? So Web.py comes with this URL thing and it has a built-in operating engine. If you don't want to use it, you can continue to use something else. If you want to use Jinja, you can say Jinja2.template loader and then template loader.load. You can do all those things and then start using Jinja templates.
There is some config.py somewhere. Settings.py where you can change all these template engines.
No, it's just Python code, right? So you actually say import Jinja2, Jinja2.template loader and then render a template equal to
And
something.
hello.py we can do that.
In hello.py you can actually specify like, so if you see
He loaded web.templates.
hello.py, I said render equal to web.template.render, okay?
There you change.
So instead you can actually say that render equal to get Jinja templates and give the directory, okay? And then you can implement, you can write that function which actually imports Jinja2 and then does whatever you need. Okay, so it's basically in your hands, okay? So it might actually require initial bit of efforts to actually write this piece thing, okay? But you see, it won't really take much with so many lines of code to actually get it up and running. So, any more questions, or shall we move to? So, what application do you want to build? I was thinking of doing a blog.
Yeah, I was what
Yeah.
can use both the templating engines.
Nothing stops me from doing it. So I was thinking of building a blog. Do you have any other suggestions?
Voting app.
Huh?
Votes. People
Voting?
put link and like,
Want to build Reddit?
something like that. I mean, it's better than building blog.
Okay. Okay, I mean, it's actually, there's not much difference between those two. So let's build Reddit, right? Shall we build Reddit?
Yeah.
That's what you mean, right, when you say voting? But let me see. I'm just thinking like, how do I put the arrows up and down? I just put up and down links.
They put
Yeah.
+1 and -1.
Vote and
Huh?
+1 and -1.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's good. Okay. Right. Okay. Now, so we're done with hello. So let's. Okay, so let's build a Reddit tool. So So what all? So let's start writing. Okay. So you put how you do this. Let's see what else you have.
Most of them are done, and some are projects that we just have to structure for that. We can just go on and do it right now.
So we have basic skeleton ready. Okay. Let's write. Just putting this steps right now. Okay. So we have the skeleton done ready. So let's now see what we want to have in the application. Okay. So let's first see what pages we will have in the application, so that we can design our URLs here. Right? So, so you go to the slash page, you actually see list of posts that you have. Clicking on each one of them should take you to that post. Each post has a title, right? That's all. Okay. So let's. We didn't use a database here, but I'll come to that. Okay. So now slash dot start. That's the ID of the. Okay. That will go to. We're calling it post, right? Redis will be. That's a post. That will go to post. What else will we have? Probably need to.
Each post ID, like, they have that comment section.
Yeah.
Each post has a comment section.
So you want comments. Okay, so we'll come to comments a bit later.
Yeah.
So first, what you want to build is people can go and submit posts and then upload and download. So that's the first part we want to build, and then we'll see if we have time to add support for comments.
So we can do stuff like /post number automatically generated with the post.
So we'll see that. So what I thought is instead of saying /post/1, I say /1 will actually show us post 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Right? Makes sense, right? So that's what I thought. So slash something will actually give you that post.
If you give the URL regex there, will that post ever be executed?
Say again?
That dot star, if you put it that
Yeah.
place, will that post be ever called, because it will eat up everything, right? What
It's below the index.
Yeah. It's below index. Okay, if you want to write anything else, then we should put it.
Post.
So if you write anything after post, what will be executed?
Hey Anand, can I take a minute?
Yeah, sure.
I just want to know who will be staying for dinner.
I'll be staying.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Oh.
8, 9, 10, 11,
Some more here.
13, 14.
Hey, actually, who is not staying for
Yeah,
dinner?
who's not staying?
5 of them.
That's
So,
more.
I think.
yeah. So,
That's 14, right?
yes. So do you want to actually, you're getting stuff here, or are we going out and having?
We're ordering stuff over here. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So now, and then you want it output and download. And then slash up. I'll come to that issue of.
Can I have named capture groups in the regex?
Huh?
Named capture groups? Like,
Yeah, you can have capture names, but not much use.
would it come as a keyword argument in the get?
I don't think so. No.
It doesn't work.
Just out of curiosity, I'm asking: is there? You're using the regex, right? But sometimes regex is very hard for beginners.
Really, so most of the time you just use dot star. You don't do much of it. Okay. So learning dot star and group is not that difficult.
Okay.
I mean, what's more difficult for beginners is using decorators.
Okay.
Okay, so that looks like magic, like why,
Hmm.
how it's working. So in fact, in my Python, when I do Python trainings, so when I do Python trainings, the whole beginning session, okay, I actually don't even tell them about something called decorator. Whole Python session, okay, I only talk about decorators only in the advanced session.
Okay.
It's because it sounds very confusing in the beginning.
Fine.
So people feel like, oh, where is this news index coming in? I never use this, okay? So, to avoid confusion, I just said anything will go to post, anything /up/down, okay? There's a, yeah, it should be fine, it shouldn't create much trouble for us right now, okay? Let me create skeletons for all these things. Wow. Just have put skeletons. Now let's see if the URL pattern is working. Let's try running it. So slash will say hello already. /1 will say there's an error. Do you see what's error here? Which is /1, it actually failed. We're capturing a regular expression here, right? That comes as an argument here. So
Argument.
so this we should actually take an argument. So same with it's actually not a name, but it's a post ID. Calling it PID. It's a post ID. Let's see if this sounds sufficient. Okay. Flush out. Flush out. Okay. So that your navigation is working fine. Now let's actually see what more try. Okay. Now when you have a site, now let's move this into so let's actually try to create the index page first. What do we get there? Right? So let's create some templates. What you typically do is you have a whole layout template for the site, and everything actually fits into it. And that's how. So if you look at any website, it has a header in the top, a footer, and then sidebar, etc. And every content will be keep changing inside the site. So you would have a layout template that will basically put the skeleton in place, and then everything else actually goes and sits into it. Now let's try to write a. I mean, you can call it whatever you want. I'm calling it site, call it layout or base or whatever. So now this takes a page. That's basically a string. Basically writing. Putting some style sheets here so that later if you want to add some styles, you can add it. So what site template does is it puts a H1 Reddit on the top and then puts everything else at the bottom. I mean, I'm not trying to actually make a beautiful looking site or something. I'm just putting something so that we have skeleton in place, and then we can add styles to make it look good later. Now, so this is the site template, okay. We need a site template for the index page. So what will index page look like? That should take a list of posts, and then list of posts, and then display those posts there. So let me def it. It should take posts, and then display all these posts. So it will be just put it in div, and then for p posts, just gain some idea in HTML classes so that we can add styles later. So what do you expect posts to have? probably have a title. Okay, that's not. We'll worry about other things later. Okay. P dot. Okay. I mean, it'll have a link and all those things, but we'll look at it at a later point. Okay. Sounds good. Now, before we actually do this, we should actually look at how do you going to get all these posts and how to store all these posts. Let's actually first let's see what I did. Okay. Yeah, it's okay. So we need to actually create a render object first. So now I can say take list of posts and giving a list so that it doesn't have to, we don't have any posts as of now. So let's see what this looks like now. It's basically nothing, didn't show anything. Okay, didn't even show the site thing. Okay, why? Because we have much told anywhere that it has to use the site template, right? So what we need to do is the site template takes an argument page that's come from index. What would I try to do? There's template index. So there's a function called index that gives me HTML for the index page. I take that and pass it, call another function site, which takes that and puts it in the right place. Is that clear? Yeah. So now let's see what do we get. Okay. So what happened? It actually printed the title, but the HTML it actually printed as text, not as why. So let's look at the source. Okay, it actually escaped all these things. Why? Because Web.py, by default, whatever you try to render as say download something, it always escapes it by default. For example, you have hello.py saying $name, right? It's a $name. If name actually contains any special characters, they'll be escaped automatically. Okay, so that you actually see them correctly. So here we actually, page is actually the HTML that we're getting, right? They should not escape. To say not to escape, we should say $. That's a Web.py syntax to say that this need not be escaped. So when you do this, then it actually, then it won't. If you see the source, you have that div there. Clear?
So that one might contain scripting also.
Yeah. So any HTML it won't escape instead of $. Now, so now we have a base template, a site template, and the index page, which basically is created right now. That's supposed to be displaying all the posts that we have. Now, how do you get the posts and where do you store all these things? What is a good place to store all these posts? Database. When we create a database, let's start with it. Next, so Web.py doesn't come with any OR. So what Web.py does is, it tries to make writing SQL very easy. So first we need to create a schema, then I'll actually show you how to use a database with Web.py.
Can you just tell us your IP also, IP of your machine, so we can keep checking it?
Okay, so it's
119.
no, that's not that. That's not that. Can you try pinging this?
Yeah.
It should.
Which
Call-
code is the
Call 880.
yeah?
We should write it. Write it. If you want to see all these things working. You have a pen here.
Marker
Marker.
should be there. Let me.
Which time do you have? When do we start? 7:30? Can you stay for 8:30? Is that fine? Yeah, you can go to this URL 10.40.1.2.7:880.
Because I don't think it is possible to use all of that.
That's the URL. So you will see whatever I'm running. I'm going to use a SQLite database because that's simple to work with. Anybody haven't heard of SQLite? Everybody knows what SQLite is? So SQLite is a database that sits in a single file. It's very handy to do development. In production, you probably use MySQL or Postgres, but in development, SQLite is very easy to work with. So create table.
Is it a new file? Create.
Yeah, I'm just creating schema.SQL. So it can be anything. It's not really part of the application. Just creating so that I can create a database. I mean, I can actually go to SQLite command and create directly, but it's usually nice to actually write schema file and then check it in the repository. So what do you have in the posts? Have an ID, teacher. What else? Title. Let's say 250 characters.
Words, words, number of words.
Okay, so we have words. That's integer.
Default.
Default 0.
Archive.
Let's get to that. So much details. It also needs an URL, right? So, URL. That's again. I really like varchar, but let's just put varchar for now. Title URL and then words. Okay. Anything else? This is like good enough to start, no? Now SQLite 3 read.db, and then I'm giving this, so it actually creates. I think SQLite expects in the other order. It's not
Auto increment by 1 now.
No, it's.
I think it's sequence.
No, it's.
I think auto increment is what? Auto increment is
This is correct.
I think there is no underscore. It's a one word.
That's 5 minutes. This thing is all good.
Wait, I can underscore.
It's actually create table. Actually set in second line.
Single.
So that's it. Okay. That's correct. So it's giving an error somewhere else. extra here. That's what causing the
Small Python.
Sorry for all confusion. So this is schema that I have. So create table, posts, integer, that's primary key with auto increment, of title, URL and votes. So now once I have this, so we have a database with this schema. Now let's see how do we query this or insert this. Okay. To start with, let's not get into inserting. Let's see how to access what's there. So what I'll do is I'll open I'm inserting one post manually. That's a title. So I've basically created a single row in the database table. Now let's see how to access that. So now if you see, you have one single file called ready.py. Now how do we, so now we need to create a database. The database name is SQLite. Database is ready.db. I have database object with us. Select. That will give us all the posts, all the rows in the post table. Okay. So each row will have all the columns as attributes. Each row will have, so you can say post dot URL post dot table. I'll pass that to poster title is what we are already using in the index template. If you see templates index HTML, we're already using p.title. Let's see. Okay. We got this. Okay. Let's actually try to make this. We wanted to have a p dot URL. That will show it as a link. But you actually want you want that up or down, or want to show right? So let's show p dot votes, only votes in hot. That should say it has 0 votes. You should have a I'm showing plus and minus. So basically showing those two links there. Okay, so plus and minus should be the up and down links. Probably need let me actually increase the font size so that it's visible. Okay. And plus and minus should be some links, right? We should go to slash p.id slash up. Is the number down. Let's see if okay. Just made them up. So let me start a class so that I'll make it look slightly better. me set some width so that both of them look exactly the same. I'm not saying it's expert, so this will be.
You have to set displays in line box.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, okay. Got something which is good enough for our needs. Okay. Now let's come back to. Okay. Let's get in the post and then display it. So what do you want to build? You want to build up and down first, or you want to build way to add new posts? Yeah. Add post or up down? Add post. Okay. Actually, we haven't considered one. We haven't considered how to add a new post. Right?
Post
Post is display. Oh, actually,
do a def post.
actually,
We can submit the post.
actually, there's no way to look at the post right now, right? When you click on it,
You should do the post.
it should go to the post page. That's our initial plan. But you're directly going into the URL. Well, that's fine. We don't have comments, so we don't need it right now. Okay. But
You can have a post method in the post class.
What?
Creating.
so that will probably be so. Then what will be what path will you give here? So we need to have a special URL say to create a new post.
Post,
Okay.
post slash main.
Right? So you should actually probably have a /new to a new post class. Right? So let's add a class new. That doesn't get written. Site. Links. Doesn't no. It should be new. Okay. I'm going to create a new.html. So what will have in new.html? Have a form. No, we don't have a post on it. It has to create a completely new post. Title. Input type equal to text. I hope you're comfortable with HTML, right? Forms and how all those things work, post, inputs and all that. It's the title. What else do we need? That's all. And link. That's what we're calling it. Okay? And then add a submit button. So let's see if we what do we okay, let's see. It actually so when you change URLs, it doesn't get the new ones. The existing ones, if you modify, it reloads. Sorry, that should be new post. The name we gave in the top is new post, not new. seems to be good. Okay. So if you see, we didn't actually say what action form action is. That means it's the same URL. So it goes to post of same URL. So we need to write a post method in new post class. So here. Now how do you get the input from the form? Dot input. Okay. Now I'm assuming that it will have name, it will have title and URL. I'm not really checking for all those things because I'm not interested in doing error validation right now. I want to show features of Web.py. Now, so I have URL and title. You need to insert that into the database. How do you insert? You have the DB, the database option. You got to insert. What table you want to insert? Posts. Title equal to title. Not equal to title. That's all. Okay. It inserts into the database. What do we need to do after inserting?
To display that.
To go back to the home page. So now we need to raise an exception. I'm not see here. That's a temporary redirect. Go to slash.
Is the other 302 or 307?
302 I think.
307.
Hmm?
307 is the other.
Then it must be.
Oh no, sorry, 303.
302 is permanent, right?
302 is ambiguous. 301 is permanent. 302 was meant to be the other, but most clients use it in the wrong way. Because if you do 302 and it's a post request,
Okay.
then it's supposed to do a post on the destination also.
Okay.
But the browser does not do that. The spec says it has to do a post, browsers don't do it.
See other.
It 302.
Okay. No,
So
check it.
they
So-
treat 302 as a C other.
Okay.
Okay. And therefore, the 303 is now specified as C other, and there's 307, which is the original
Permanent
spec of
derivative is
302.
304, is it?
No, permanent is 301. 304 is not modified. So what you need to do is C 303. If C other is 303, then it's the correct one.
Okay. 301 redirect, 302 found, 303 C other.
Yeah, 303, that's the correct one.
So
So
307 is not modified. No. No,
304 is not
7 is
modified.
temporary redirect.
yeah, 7 is temporary.
So,
So basically the difference between found and C other is the way the back button works.
yeah. So when you say found, post should also work, right?
Sorry?
For found, post should also work.
What post?
No, when it's
No, so basically the found one was meant to also do post on the other side.
yeah.
It does not do that. So that is what temporary direct does. If you do 307 on a post, then it will do post on the other side also.
Does it? I thought
It's
not.
supposed to do that. And
Does all
303,
browsers work like that?
yeah, 303 is the one that does a get when you do a C other.
Yeah.
Now the difference between these two is 302 is considered a redirect, and therefore when you hit back, it does a post on the destination. Because it doesn't count the redirect as being a new request as far as the browser's history is concerned.
Okay.
303 makes it a new point in the history, which means you click away from the home page to something else and then go back, it'll take you back to the home page. Whereas if you've done a 302 to the home page, and from the home page you clicked somewhere else and then went back, the browser will ask you, should you submit again? Even though you were on the home page and not on the form.
Okay. So you're saying C other is the right thing?
C
or-
other is the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, after a post, it has always got to be 303.
Okay, now it inserts it and then comes back to home page. So now let's see if this works. So oh, someone already posted. Looks like okay. So I just put the URL on the top so people can see. So seems to be working. Okay. So there's one thing actually we missed out is when you post something, it should be sorted by
Dates.
vote or date. We don't have date at all in our schema. That's not what you're voting right now. Okay, but you should have included the time and sorted by time or ranking and so on. Anyway, so right now it's sorting them by random order. Okay.
How do we handle that issues? Like changing the table?
Alter table.
Uh,
We just manually do an alter table. That's all. So Web.py doesn't give you anything to do migrations or something. How do you handle it? Flask? Just
SQL doesn't give you migrations. So you need a separate project for that.
separate project.
Limbic project.
Web.py doesn't give you. So I mean, I've tried building my own migration scripts, but it's really see, the thing is, this Web.py nature of Web.py is when you're building small projects. Okay, so it's very easy to get started and then very easy to deploy and all that. As project becomes large, you have to build your own tools or use something which gives you the tools yourself. You should use some library which gives you all the tools, or build the tools yourself. Okay, so now let's see. Yeah, one more. Okay. Okay. Now let's try to do the upward and downward. So now I have the PIE here. Update post table there. I'll explain what this means in a minute. And then what you want to do, you want to actually it's actually better to do a query, because we're incrementing it by one, right? Update posts. Set posts equal to posts plus 1. There. ID equal to $. So what is this dollar here? So here it takes, we need to, this expects a dictionary of variables that it gets substituted in the query string. Let me say ID. That gives us, we don't need to worry about that. Actually, it should be a post request, right? No, we're using, ideally this should be a post request when you actually, so in the web applications, when you're, anything that modifies a state should be a post request. Anything that is just fetching information should be a get request. So that's how it should be. So right now we don't have any JavaScript to actually submit it. Okay, let's just use a get one, or actually I'll change that into buttons so that that's easy. Okay, see here slash plus. That'll actually be there. So after upload, and ideally, if in Reddit kind of thing, you might want to actually do it in an Ajax request stuff actually, but we're not getting into JavaScript issue things. Okay, so what it does is it redirects back. It's supposed to be downvoting, not upvoting, so it should be -1. And then upvote should add a +1. And these things we thought, since it's modifying, they should be a post requests. Now let's look at the next thing. Okay, so this should not be A, this should be form submissions. So if it's a form submission, you can actually have one single class saying vote and then take parameter up or down. You got what I'm saying? You don't need to have two different classes. You just have up or down as an action. So we can actually have a form here equal to /$p.id /port. Type equal to submit. Showing it as a button. Let's see how this will look. Okay, so what it does, it's doing now is it made the buttons, but form is displayed as a block. So it's coming in the next line. Fix it by style right now. So ideally, we would like to have them links, but send them an Ajax request and then do it. But right now, we're not doing that.
So you can also make a button that has no borders and with an image inside.
Second?
You can make a button which has no borders.
Okay.
So it looks like text. It's possible to do that, and that's the easiest way to do it.
So right now, that's fine. This looks good enough for now. Okay. Now, so now what change we did is we don't have now up or down arrows, down classes now. It's single URL /vote. And then it gets a value action as up or down. Based on that, we should do it on our code. Okay. Now we only have class code. Okay. And then it gets input. I'm assuming that it has action. Let's see. Action equal to now.
The other one is +1.
First one is +1. Okay, so so I just create one class which takes which gets action as an parameter. So if it's up, it +1. Otherwise, it makes it -1. Let's try to see. Okay, now we don't have up or down. We only have over. So let's see if okay, let's see. It's actually okay. So looks like actually I said method equal to, I should say method equal to post. That should be the action of the form. Right. It should be post request. The ID of the post /work. Let's look at the source of this. Didn't get actually p.id. Let's look at the database. Doesn't have ID at all.
Is auto underscore increment SQLite thing?
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing that in my databases. I think if you just do primary key, that should be enough.
No, I think I probably shouldn't say int or something. Oh, okay.
It's automatic, right? If you just say integer primary key, it should work.
Creating a new database again. Okay. Can you help me create some of these things? So that was okay. Let's see. Let's look at the source. It has /2/4/1/1/4. That seems to be okay. It's a web db.py, sorry. Query from database. Okay, yeah, seems working. Okay, but it's coming in the random order. We want to fix the order. Okay. So select under Y ports. That should descending on the ports. So we have a not really great app, but somewhat simple application. That's okay. But it's not really. You wouldn't want to write a single page stuff with everything there. Okay. Usually, what you do is you write db.py and move all your db things into it. Okay. Basically, have db.py will have a new post or get post or upvote. So all the db queries will sit in a single place so that it's easy to manage. But if you see how many lines of code we have written so far, 46 lines of code. I'm not counting templates because that's more or less HTML. But even if you count, it's like 40 lines. So less than 100 lines we have implemented edit. Okay. So and how much time it took to implement this? We started about 8:06 or something. Yeah, half an hour. Okay. So that's not a bad thing to. That's not bad. Okay. In an hour, you can build a somewhat real web application, right? And it's not too hard. If you look at number of lines of code and see what it's doing, 100 lines. So if you want to build some simple web application for anything, you have an old database you want to link to it or something, so you should be able to use Web.py for it. Any questions?
What happens when you call a post method when the post is not implemented?
It says no method form. It gives an error. So there's an HTTP error saying that 503 no method form. 503. Yeah.
Is there any simpler way for rendering templates? Like is there any markup or something, some other tool which we could use to, instead of writing HTML in the template?
Not write templates. I mean,
yeah, is there any markup which library or something Python offers?
Grace?
I don't think so.
X1 carbon.
Yeah,
X1
just
carbon.
No, so you have to write HTML templates, right? So somehow
There's the X1
so you're saying
carbon.
that is there a tool that I basically write with hand like this.
Okay.
And then
There is I think
Main advantage of having a template language like this upper, it's helpful to designers, right?
okay, that's one thing that I was shown if I used the blog or something. Okay, I was told to use the. Okay, so the question, the thing here is how can you use helpers inside the templates? You want me to show an example of using templates? Let's say I want to display all the titles in uppercase. That's what title case. Okay. Title case is actually easier. It's a dot title. That's a string. So you can do in Python, okay. So but let's actually try to. So his question is, how can I use some helper functions inside template?
For example, pluralize.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So
10 votes, 1 vote, like that.
Google. Okay. Text number. No, actually, just say. Google might,
No, we will go with that. If the vote is 0, we can mention no vote. If it is 1 vote. If it is more than 1, 2 votes.
It's that you do in template really. You don't really do it. So the pluralize, that way it works in Django. I guess it actually looks at our internationalization strings, the strings file, and then does it, right? No?
It checks the value.
Okay.
If it is 1, it's 1 vote. If it is 2, 2 votes. We have to append S. Okay. And let's say if it is 1.
So it takes number also? How does it?
It will compare the value.
Okay.
If it is 1, it will not.
It basically do both of them.
It's a singular.
Okay.
It will do the singular. If it is 2, it can put up.
So, okay. So let's actually do an uppercase thing. Let's not worry about the functionality of the function. Take the string. Okay. Let me just start upper. I mean, I can do the same thing in template, but I'm trying to say how to add a function to it. Okay. Actually, so now what we can do is the template here can actually take a list of globals. Called T globals. Okay. So whatever you pass as globals, those are the functions available as a global variables inside the templates. See, templates are like functions. That's why Web.py treats them. Okay. So you can specify that what are the global functions available to the templates. So you pass upper there. So now let's look at the index of this table. And then when I display title, I call upper. That's a function available in the template globals. So that should display the. So you want to pluralize whatever. Just write it. Return that function should. So the core parts of Web.py are the URL delegation, the templating engine, database, and getting the query parameters and all that. But it has a form library to actually work with forms. You can set cookies and all that. You can also work with. It has a small session library as well. But for most of the time, you can just use a cookie instead of a session, because that's anyway sessions are not that good. If you can avoid, you should avoid sessions always.
Can you share these codes?
Yeah, so I put.
You can zip this directly.
No, I have actually put in my GitHub repository workshop. I put hello world apps there. Okay, I'll also add the Reddit into it.
Again, one more question related to the templates. Let's say there are two kind of developers. One mainly focus on this template and how to put all the styles. Other guy is working only on the back end where
Okay.
diagrams. So this will be a little bit difficult for the.
Actually, Web.py templating is not that designer friendly. Compared to Jinja or Django thing. So the thing is, because of this thing in the top here, okay, so that it's actually developed by Alan, okay. In fact, I've actually suggested him to have an end for this thing, okay. So he kind of, that's one external and unnecessarily. Okay, so but actually when you're writing templates, it actually makes help to actually have begin and end things. Okay, so he wasn't favor of having an end in that.
I mean, he's also for a developer. It's perfect.
Yeah, so that's right. It's actually more towards the developers, not really towards the designers.
And can you also suggest what are the, I mean, possibilities and conditions where we can use this and when it should not be used?
So the thing is,
As far as
if it's a small for a small apps, okay, so you can just blindly. So it's like if it's a like 200, 300 lines apps, okay, it's probably be more comfortable doing it with Web.py than doing it with Django. Okay, but if you wanted to actually integrate with something and have an admin interface and do all these kind of things, okay, probably you want to go with the Django or something else.
let's say if I want to develop my own personal finance systems, I can go with it. So,
Yeah, so for example,
or a static website or my own blog.
so the website I'm sure earlier open every talk. We're starting on Web.py. So we really get about let's see. So only unique visitors per month. We get about 3 million unique visitors per month. So the number of hits is actually quite higher than that.
Do you use cache? Any cache?
We actually have a database layer in front of it. So we actually use cache with objects.
Or DB layer?
But if you see the Web.py database thing, okay, that's pretty easy to start. You don't have to actually learn something new to get started. Whereas if you look at an ORM, you have to start speaking the language of the ORM. And sometimes it takes so long time. Okay, when you can argue that it's actually useful to do bigger projects, might be true. Okay, but whenever I've used SQL Alchemy, I always got this trouble. I mean, your mileage might vary, but whenever I use an ORM, I always got stuck feeling that I should have actually gone to plain SQL thing. Okay, I mean, for 90% of things, it actually works very well, and for one particular problem, it's actually much easier to write SQL query directly by hand than actually going through the ORM route.
I mean, people will say it is more maintained when you switch databases, when you rename all things, but 99.9% it will never happen.
So the nice thing about it is you're not writing SQL queries by hand directly. You say web.select and then say this, okay. And one more important feature is you don't say % doesn't replace ID here. You say $ID. So it does the SQL escaping, okay. So with Web.py database, you will never get into SQL injection attack. Right? So you know what SQL injection attack is? Anybody who doesn't know what SQL injection attack is? So now, this one way of writing it, okay, but I can actually write it as a plus ID. Anything wrong with it? Do you see anything wrong with ID is going to be a number, so it's a plus ID, where ID equal to this, okay? And then run that update, okay? What if I pass ID as one semicolon, drop table something, okay? It will remove the whole of my database, okay? So it gives a chance for the user to run arbitrary SQL commands without my knowledge. That's called SQL injection attack. So by using this $ID, what it does is it takes a value of ID, does a SQL escaping correctly, and then pass it. So that such attacks are not possible. So one thing that we want to do in the Hack Night is want to take this database module and make it as a separate Python package so that anybody can use, not just in web applications. So you won't have writing Flask application, want to use, you don't like SQL Alchemy, you can use this. That's the plan. So if you have any questions about Web.py, post, you can post in the Web.py mailing list.
What's your GitHub ID to for that?
Okay. So it's actually there in the Hack Night page. It's linked there. And there's a GitHub link. Workshop page. So I just put the hello world things, I'll push the Reddit things.
And apart from that, it requires more documentation, so you can also contribute on the more
Yes, so
documentation.
one thing about Web.py is documentation is really poor. Okay, so both Aaron, so I'm current maintainer for Web.py. Okay, so both Aaron and I really never really spent enough time or to actually write the documentation. So we had a wiki thing and people started writing, but it's never structured very well. Okay, so one thing you can do is you can actually, so I'm actually planning to revamp the whole site, but one thing useful is actually you can start writing a blog post about Web.py, how it works. Okay, I mean, if it's good, I can actually grab it and then put it in the documentation. Okay, so if you plan to stay for the hack night, you can actually help me in writing documentation for SQL Python, what we're going to build today. So one complaint people have about Web.py is the documentation.
And the problem is that the people will start Web.py, so the prerequisites should be properly mentioned. So sometimes they might need to Python as well. Sometimes they need to.
What are the prerequisites?
So how to set up, how to install all this.
Okay, yeah.
That's
So one thing you can do is you can actually build a Web.py book, start from installation to actually how to deploy and different deployment scenarios on that. But the thing is, so these kind of things might actually be easy, good to actually start with the blog post. How do you deploy Web.py on Nginx? How do you deploy it with this? Okay. So then when people Google search, always people Google search, nobody actually goes to the website and actually browse the documentation. So you should really find it in Google search. So I think blog post should be good to start with.
And Python compliance, what versions of Python?
So one thing is, so it starts supporting Python 2.3. So in fact, so only web framework that supports Python 2.3 as far as I know.
But what are they used?
As of today.
But what is the use? Python 2.3 you can't build anymore in the new operating system, right?
No, the thing is, see, this started, when it started, okay, till last year there were people using 2.3, okay. So, Red Hat server, okay, so they have like 5-year contract period, okay.
Exactly.
So, till a year or a year and a half before, okay, there are people running Python 2.3.
But
so now you can probably drop Python 2.3 support and move to 2.4.
So the problem will be like when you have new functionality in 2.6 or 2.7, you cannot use that. Still you have.
No, so the thing is, when you're writing an application, okay, you write it in your comfortable thing, but you're writing a library, okay, you should try to use the smallest possible thing that you can use. That's because
you even avoid the with statement of process manager.
No, you should support with statement, okay. You should support with statement, but you should not use statement in your library.
Yeah.
Because, for example, someone is written a web app in, let's say, 2003, isn't Python 2.4, okay. Still running on a server, okay. There's no need for me to upgrade that, okay.
How about 3?
Well, I mean, from years I've been thinking of supporting Python 3, but never happened. It'll probably come over.
Any reason that I didn't
Want to work on it? We welcome send patches.
So do you have this ticketing systems where people need to
GitHub issues. Thanks for coming.